How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad that you joined me today. Thank you so very much. Today we're going to get back to Marty Robbins, and I had done El Paso a while back, and I found out that that was a trilogy, part of a trilogy, and I just happened to play El Paso first, so that was very good timing. So the second part apparently is a song called FALEENA, and I remember that FALEENA was the female character in El Paso. So this should be very interesting to check out. I've never heard this before, but a number of subscribers said you have to do the whole trilogy. So today we're going to do part 2. Before we get going though, if you could all like the video and subscribe to my channel, it is most helpful. And if you care to, you can always hit the super thanks button if you really like what I'm doing. All right, here we go. FALEENA, Marty Robbins, and that's all I know. I don't know anything else about this song. I actually tried to look up a little bit of info on it, and I really couldn't find anything other than it was the part of the trilogy of El Paso. So if you guys have any information on this song, please put it down in the comments.
Out in New Mexico, many long years ago, there in a shack on the desert one night in a storm, amid streaks of lightning and loud desert thunder, to a young Mexican couple a baby was born. Just as the baby cried, thunder and lightning died, moon gave its light to the world, and the stars did the same.
Love that Spanish guitar.
Mother and father both proud of the daughter that heaven had sent them. FALEENA was this baby's name.
Okay.
When she was 17, bothered by crazy dreams, she ran away from the shack and left them to roam. Father and mother both asked one another, what made her run away? What made FALEENA leave home? Tired of the desert nights, poverty, grief, and strife, she went her way late one night in the moon's golden beam. She didn't know where she'd go, but she'd get there, and she would find happiness if she would follow her dream. After she ran away, she went to Santa Fe, and in the year that she stayed there, she learned about life. In just a little while, she learned that with a smile, she could have a pretty clothes, she could be any man's wife. Rich men romanced her, they dined and they danced her. She understood men and she treated them all just the same. A form that was fine and rare, dark, shining, glossy hair, lovely to look at, FALEENA was this woman's name. Restless in Santa Fe, she had to get away to any town where the lights had a much brighter glow. One cowboy mentioned the town of El Paso. They never stopped dancing and money like whiskey did flow. She bought a one-way ticket from Santa Fe, 3 days and nights on a stage with a rest now and then. She didn't mind that, she knew she would find that her new life would be more exciting than where she had been. The stage made its last stop up there on the mountaintop to let her see all of the lights at the foot of the hill. Her world was brighter, and deep down inside her, an uncontrolled beating, her young heart just wouldn't be still. She got a hotel, a room at the Lily Bell. Quickly she changed to a form-fitting black satin dress. Every man stopped to stare at this form fine and rare. Even the women remarked to the charm she possessed. Dancing and laughter was what she was after, and Rose's cantina had lights with love in the gleam. That's what she hunted and that's what she wanted. Rose's was one place a nice girl would never be seen.
Okay, I'm just going to stop it there for a sec. This is really a very kind of intricate story. It's even more, I think, more intricate than El Paso. This one is, I love the Spanish guitar in this song, but this one is almost like a narrated story that is just put to a little bit of music, whereas the other one seemed more like a song that was telling a story. El Paso seemed like that. But it's very cool. I love his voice, and I'm just so engaged in this story. So FALEENA starts off, she was born to a nice couple in Mexico, proud of her, seemed like it was a nice life, but then she ran away, and they said something about her having crazy dreams. So I'm not sure if there was something that was a little bit mentally unstable about her or what, but obviously her parents had no idea what was going on, and probably don't know where she is, I'm assuming. But now into this story so far, she's now made it to El Paso and she's made it to the cantina. So that's kind of where the El Paso sort of picked up. So this is kind of halfway for this song. The song's over 8 minutes long. I was not expecting it to be this long. El Paso is actually kind of short, but this one is very long and it's very, very intricate. So very cool. I'm just going to rewind it just a teeny bit just so we can get back into that story. I almost didn't stop it because I was like, I really want to hear what's happening for the whole story, but I thought there was so much that they were talking about, I thought I may forget some of it. Here we go.
After was what she was after, and Rose's cantina had lights with love in the gleam. That's what she hunted and that's what she wanted. Rose's was one place a nice girl would never be seen. It was the same way it was back in Santa Fe. Men would make fools of themselves at the thought of a romance. Rosa took heed of the place, was in need of this kind of excitement, so she paid FALEENA to dance. A year passed or maybe more, then through the swinging doors came a young cowboy, so tall and so handsomely dressed. This one was new in town, hadn't been seen around. He was so different, he wasn't like all of the rest. FALEENA danced close to him, then threw a rose to him. Quickly he walked to her table and there he sat down. And in a day or so, wherever folks would go, they'd see this young cowboy showing FALEENA the town. 6 weeks he went with her, each minute spent with her, but he was insanely jealous of glances she'd give. Inside he was a-hurtin' from all of her flirtin'. That was her nature and that was the way that she lived. She flirted one night, it started a gunfight, and after the smoke cleared away, on the floor lay a man. FALEENA's young lover had shot down another, and he had to leave there, so out through the back door he ran.
Interesting.
The next day at 5 o'clock she heard a rifle shot. Quickly she ran to the door that was facing the pass. She saw her cowboy, her wild riding cowboy, low in the saddle. Her cowboy was riding in fast. She ran to meet him, to kiss and to greet him. He saw her and motioned her back with a wave of his hand.
Interesting.
Bullets were flying, FALEENA was crying as she saw him fall from the saddle and into the sand. FALEENA knelt near him to hold and to hear him, when she felt the warm blood that flowed from the wound in his side. He raised to kiss her and she heard him whisper, Never forget me, FALEENA, it's over, goodbye. Quickly she grabbed for the 6-gun that he wore, and screaming in anger and placing the gun to her breast.
Oh, wow.
Bury us both deep and maybe we'll find peace. Then pulling the trigger, she fell across the dead cowboy's chest.
Wow. Wasn't expecting
Out in
that.
El Paso, whenever the wind blows, if you listen closely at night, you'll hear in the wind. A woman is crying, it's not the wind sighing. Old timers tell you FALEENA is calling for him.
Wow.
You'll hear them talking and you'll hear them walking. You'll hear them laughing, you'll look, but there's no one around. Don't be alarmed, there is really no harm there. It's only the young cowboy showing FALEENA the town.
Wow. Okay, how cool was that? So it told the whole story of FALEENA's life. And it's interesting because, you know, in the first one, you just thought she was a bit of a temptress, perhaps, you know, not very loyal, kind of going all over to all these men. And it did talk about how she could handle men and she was quite a flirt, but she clearly had a thing for the cowboy. And it told it a little bit more from her perspective. And when you hear it, or at least when I heard it, I'm much more sympathetic to her in this than I was in El Paso. And in fact, the cowboy actually was kind of a little bit of a bonehead at times. He clearly got very jealous, and even when he had come back to town, he kind of pushed her away a little bit. She clearly loved him dearly because at the end she took her own life, which I was absolutely amazed by, because in the first El Paso song, they didn't actually talk about that at all. They just ended with his death and the kiss. And then you were left to kind of wondering what's happening. But this actually makes more sense. So it actually has a bit of a Romeo and Juliet kind of feel at the very end when the other kills themselves after the other one has died. So very, very cool. So interesting how, you know, you don't hear the whole side of the story when you're just hearing one person's take on it. So this is very interesting. Kind of like how in the musical Wicked, we actually got to see the other side of the Wicked Witch. This is the same kind of thing. I think it's very, very cool. So I'm excited to hear the third part because it's kind of a really cool story. Now, I don't know if the other one is as lengthy as this one, and I'm not sure how they're going to make this into another song, since we now know the cowboy is dead and FALEENA is dead. And I mean, it was kind of interesting too, the way that the ghosts are kind of haunting that town. Especially you can hear her voice, and it's very, very cool. Really a great story. Absolutely love it. It's one of these ones that it was a fantastic story, and like I said, it's more like a story than a song, where I really found that El Paso was more song orientated, and I would probably listen to El Paso more just because it's a little bit more catchy and it is kind of more of a song, and this is an investment and it's definitely a story. So I may not listen to this one too often, but I'm glad that I did because it's a very cool story. Anyway, that was fantastic. Any other information that you could give me on this particular part of the trilogy, I would love to know that. And I do know that the next part I think is called El Paso City, so I'm not sure if that's going to be about the people who live there and maybe about the ghosts. I don't know, but I'll be very interested to find out that in the future. Anyway, if you like Marty Robbins and you'd like me to do more of his stuff, please put it down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to check it out. Okay, everybody, I think that wraps it up for the day, but you may want to look up here because you can see El Paso. If you haven't seen it already, it'll pop up at the end of the video, and then you can watch that one as well. Okay, everyone, have a joyful day, and I will see you all again next time. Bye-bye.